useful these COVID loans are? How do they differ from, a personal loan or any other kind of loan? I have with me Anshuman Mishra of fintech platform LoanAdda.com, which, by the way, has raised funds in a latest round from our ventures. High Tables platform. We also, in fact, had PRAAK Investments and Ratnaafin Group, which participated in this round of fundraising, which I suppose in this market could be quite commendable. Anshuman, I don't know how you carried out that feat, but my congratulations to you and the entire team at LoanAdda on this latest round of fundraising by LoanAdda. Anshuman, let's now talk about, of course, the COVID personal loans. What exactly are they? And, if you could just very briefly touch upon what are the specific characteristics of these COVID loans being offered by banks?
So, Movina, thank you so much for the kind words. We did raise capital, and today everything is about capital, liquidity, and there are some organizations and people who are considered creditworthy. So to come on this COVID-19 personal loan, so what's happened is that is public sector undertakings are have termed COVID-19 personal loans. Let's say the first of them is Bank of India. But what happens in this is that this is not an online digitally processed loan. So I also tried for that, and I tried to reach out to the helpline. So it directs you to the branch, and then from the branch it is difficult to get any loan. So essentially what has happened is that if you were talking on even the ET Now show in the morning, that banks have enough of liquidity, but the spending on that is quite much low. People or the banks have become very, very conservative. They're not spending that amount. So what problem happens in this particular thing is that whether you call it COVID-19 loan or personal loan, the liquidity and the ability to lend by the banks has drastically gone down. The banks are not lending. They're not, releasing their funds. It's rather park it with RBI. So COVID-19 personal loans today are, on paper, which PSU banks are giving, and anyway, private sector banks have completely, shut lending. So there are really not too many loans, except, LoanAdda is trying to give a little bit here and there of a loan, but even our size is, very, very small.
It's interesting you got up that point, and yes, folks, for anybody who missed it earlier in the day, we highlighted about how banks have been parking a lot of the liquidity with the RBI instead of lending it out to people. Could be for various reasons. One, of course, like Anshuman as well mentioned, they're very risk averse. It could also be, of course, because borrowers are not there, because economic activity has come to close to a standstill. There's no need for people to be borrowing money. So that could also be a reason why. But of course, that does not stop personal loans from being given out, even if you're sitting at home, there could always be an emergency that could arise. How does this COVID loan, if I were to approach a bank for a COVID loan, how would it differ from, a regular personal loan, Anshuman, in terms of the amount I can borrow, in terms of my eligibility?
See, Mubina, there is essentially no different. It's not a different product. It's just, a nomenclature that if you're applying for a personal loan, then it's a personal loan. If you're applying for a, home loan top-up, let's say like State Bank of India is actually now giving 10% of your outstanding, limit or a working capital limit as a COVID-19, loan. So it's basically emergency funds. So today, now, the more important thing is that what do you need money for? So let's say I'm an individual or a company, my moratorium is there on the existing loans. So unless and until there is an emergency, we are not going to be, using any money. So the question is that why take a loan at this point of time? And as you had, earlier, asked, what is it that we should be, repaying? So let's say you have some money. There are different kinds of loans that one has. So one has, what are the instruments that you have? You have a credit card, okay, which is at 41% average rate of interest. You have a personal loan, which is around 11 to 14%. You have a home loan, which ranges between 8.5% to 9.5%. So essentially, the advice that we give to anybody is that please do not roll over your credit card outstanding at 41%, because at the end of 2 months, you could be having to pay 2 months extra to a bank, which banks really love to not have you repay that loan. So please repay your credit card outstanding in case you have liquidity. But to the people who don't have liquidity for 6 months, the advice is that come to any the total lending has gone down. So banks are giving barely 10% of what they were giving. So you will find it difficult. So please apply for any kind of liquidity loan, as we say, because anybody, like today the banks are hoarding their liquidity, Mubina. So they know that things are going to get or could get more and more difficult. So today is not the time to be thinking of spending. But yes, you should not hoard. But if you take any loan and you keep it in your pocket, the basic mentality is that you sleep slightly, say, sounder. So why not take a small ticket loan for a small tenure of time, say for 15 days or 2 months, because we are even given a 15-day loan also in case somebody needs. So why not just take a small amount of loan, keep it in an account, and you sleep better, and you just say that that interest is what you would have otherwise spent on spending on medicines if that were the case.
Okay, so it's better to take a small ticket loan for a smaller tenure as opposed to, going for a full-fledged personal loan or even for that matter, COVID loan. According to Anshuman Mishra, it's simply just a change in the nomenclature, but otherwise the features are largely the same. Also, of course, I do understand that COVID loans are only for obviously it's only for a very, very temporary period, maybe till June or July at the most. It's not going to be a permanent feature, just like how COVID is not going to be a permanent feature, at least all of us hope. So that's, of course, Anshuman Mishra's view. Now, Anshuman, you bought about credit card bills, and that's what I want to talk to you about. The reason why we go for, COVID loans or any of COVID loans or any of these short-term loans is because we have a talk to you about. The reason why we go for COVID loans or any of these short-term what I want to talk to you about. The reason why we go for COVID loans or any of these short-term loans is because we have a certain
has come about of people is to not pay anything, but the people have to understand that this is returnable money. Somewhere today or tomorrow you have to return it, and when you're returning it, you're paying a higher interest. So this is not a waiver like a farmer gets. This is an interest which is accruing. So what happens in that is, in case you have zero liquidity, then you don't, you can't pay. Okay, but in case you have liquidity, so you are an individual, you have liquidity, so what do? You first want to repay your highest tenure or highest ticket interest rate of loans. So credit card essentially is the highest at 41%. Please pay that, so don't roll over. So in case you have in the secured loans, you have a default before 1st of March. So these moratoriums, you have to understand, is applicable to people who had not defaulted or were the assets that were considered standard on 1st of March. So you need to pay off your home loans or a loan against property in case they were defaulting earlier. And it's a good time to regularize your account is the second thing. The third thing is that in case you have paid off your credit card, then your personal loans are better off that you repay them and then come to your home loans, because personal loans are slightly higher rate of interest than your home loans. And of course, credit card is the most important. Now, some emergency, like in some family, there are some dialysis that happen, so thrice a week you have to go for that. So their kind of, emergency loans you can, take. And apart from that, in terms of our expenditure, see now, if you see the average expenditure is 80-90% below. So we are seeing that we can live without, going to restaurants, or we can live without eating out. We can live without a lot of things which we considered, essentials. So our expenditures have also gone down. So that's a good thing to see that, after this COVID-19, I see a lot of people saving a lot of money and not spending so much. So if you know you're going to save, why not pay off your 41% interest rate credit cards first? That's my first advice to people. It should be mandatory that you pay off your credit cards, please.
repayment of credit card would top the list, that's for sure, in terms of, bill payments that you have. And that's Anshuman Mishra's view. In fact, on the Money Show as well, he's time and time reiterated on how important it is to not ensure that your credit card bill goes overdue, because it's a very hefty penalty. Okay, Anshuman, thank you so much. As always, it's a pleasure having you with us and sharing your opinions on the Money Show. And once again, my congratulations to you and the team at LoanAdda for securing that new round of funding. Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, you can always email us your views, your questions, your feedback on the Money Show at etnow.tv.